Welcome to the channel and welcome to another 40k Faceoff. In this, our 16th Faceoff, we see our as yet undefeated Redemptor Dreadnought face off against a living, breathing weapon beast. It's the Tyranid Tyrannofex. So it kind of felt to me like in all the face-offs that we'd had with the Redemptor in, it was always the other units doing the legwork. We had the Hormagaunts first, then the Gene Stealers. Check those videos out if you haven't. So in this one, I kind of wanted to make one where it's actually the Redemptor who's having to do the legwork. And so we're facing off against the Tyranid Tyrannofex. So with this being the third one for the Redemptor, and I don't want to say any spoilers, but it's gone well for the Redemptor so far. It's actually a slightly uneven matchup. We've got the Redemptor here at 9 power level and 180 points. Versus the Tyrannofex at 210 points and 10 power level, so one different. So, just to give you an idea of what each unit is packing here, we've got the Redemptor Dreadnought. It has 13 wounds, 4 attacks, it's toughness 7, so pretty tough. It's got 2 Fragstorm grenade launchers, I think that's the little white things there in the front. They shoot assault d6. It's got a heavy flamer which only has an 8-inch range, but it shoots heavy d6, minus 1 AP. The main star of the show, the heavy Gatling onslaught cannon, heavy 12, strength 5, minus 1 AP, 30-inch range, and the Redemptor fist. So that doubles its strength to 14, and it does d6 wounds every time it gets through. It has some rules that give it extra attacks if it charges, or if it charges, adds 1 to wound rolls in turns that it charges, and also if it dies, it might explode and take off mortal wounds. I think on a 6 it does d6 mortal wounds within 6 inches, so quite a lot really. Our Tyrannofex here, I've had a lot of fun with this Tyrannofex before. I played against my friend Ed with 1D in battles before, and it's actually killed Mortarion, this Tyrannofex. It's done some pretty good stuff. It's also been in other 40k face-offs, so have a look in the playlist and on my channel if you want to see those other ones. The Tyrannofex has 14 wounds, it's toughness 8, so it's, you know, packing a few more HP than the Dreadnought. Main weapon is the Rupture Cannon. That's got a 48-inch range. It's heavy 3, strength 10, does d6 wounds. A lot of power there. It has a Stinger Salvo, which has a 24-inch range, and in combat it's got powerful limbs. It has a rule called Weapon Beast, which is very significant. Basically, if it doesn't move, it can shoot everything twice. So just loads of Daka flying out of this beast here. Really cool model. It's one of the first ones I painted with my airbrush. Really like it. I haven't finished it at all. I was thinking about doing yellow and black stripes along here, like warning, like a bee. And I also just plain forgot to do this leg blue. Anyway, we'll have him that way. He looks better. So we have our setup. We have our Redemptor here, and we have our Tyrannofex there. We have our literal sea of dice. And a little lake of dice here. So let's roll off first and see who goes first in this 40k face-off. So rolling off, we've got purple for the Squidnids and we've got red for the Blood Angels. Let's see who goes first. Oh, it's the Tyranids. Cool. So he's not going to move because he's a weapon beast and he gets to shoot twice if he doesn't move. So he's just going to stand there and daka. And will he end it in this first turn of shooting? Let's find out. First off, we've got the Rupture Cannon. It's got a 48-inch range. It's definitely in range. So normally heavy 3, but it's got double the shots because it didn't move. Let's see what happens. Going to be hitting on 4s. So here we go, hitting on 4s. Oh, quite a few of them. 4 there. Okay. The gun has a strength of 10, a strength of 10, and the Dread has a toughness of 7. So we're only on 3s. 3 of them. It's got a minus 3 AP, which is pretty huge, that big gun, and the Dread has a 3-up save, so we're looking at 6s here. None of them. Wow. So let's see how many wounds happen. It's d6 wounds for the Rupture Cannon. The first one does 6 wounds, the second one does 1, so we're on 7, and then 9 wounds taken off the Redemptor Dreadnought in the first bit of shooting from the Tyrannofex. It starts on 13, so it's on 4 wounds. Let's have a look. There's 4 wounds. Not a great start for the Redemptor, but we'll see how it goes. Now we'll see if the Stinger Salvo is in range. That's 24 inches. Let's see. I don't think it will be. We'll put it there. We haven't got a base, so it makes it a little tricky. But yeah, that's not in range. So we move on to the Redemptor Dreadnought's turn. So the Redemptor is basically going to have a taste of its own medicine here, I think. And it's going to have to really try and get into close combat, because that fist... I mean, shall I walk and shoot, or shall I just... So he's got 6 wounds left. He moves... Sorry, he's got 4 wounds left, and he moves 6 inches. You know what? I'm just going to move up 6 inches and do some shooting and try and basically take wounds off that Tyranid so that it doesn't shoot me as effectively. I was tempted to just advance. You know, what would that be? Like 6 plus, what, potentially there at best? I mean, yeah, it's still not looking good. So we're going to walk forward and shoot. And in true peacetime painting style, we're going to do our click move. There we go, done. So we might even get the 24-inch range weapons shooting. So that's our movement done. We're going to now shoot. We're going to use our heavy onslaught Gatling cannon. Vehicles don't suffer a -1 to hit with heavy weapons, so we're looking at hitting on 4s here, which is not that bad. So let's see it. Strength 5 against toughness 8. We need 5s to wound here. Only 1 of them. That's a little disappointing. And it's got a -1 AP, so we're looking at a 4 up save normally for the... oh no, so yeah, it's a 3 up normally for the Tyrannofex. We're looking at 4 up now. And it's made the save. Checking range for the Frag Storm. It's got an 18-inch range. It's not looking good. It's not going to be in range for the Frag Storm. Definitely not for the Heavy Flamer. Maybe should have advanced. And with that, we are done with the Space Marines turn 1. I'm going to move that there. So we're going to move on to the Tyrannofex turn 2. It's got 4 wounds left. Now it gets to shoot its Stinger Salvos. Don't have high hopes for the Dreadnought, but we'll see. Not going to move. Going to stay there and be a weapon beast. Big old shots with a ruptured cannon. Going into the Dreadnought. Hitting on 4s. Wounding on 3s. Not looking good. Okay, all but 1. And with its -3 AP, the Dreadnought needs to make 6s here. Wow, it's made 2. Let's see how many wounds these do. The first one is 2 wounds. Next one is, if it's more than a 1, then it's game over. It's 3. And with that, our Dreadnought that had so many people wanting it to be dealt with has died, basically. Let's check if it explodes. On a 6 it explodes. Nope, it hasn't even exploded. It's out of there. And with that, the Tyranid has won this 40k face-off. But as we sometimes do with 40k face-offs that end a bit soon and end a bit one-sided, I feel like we can put these guys a bit closer together and see what happens. So let's have a kind of best of 3 thing maybe. Here we are a bit closer together this time. I mean, this is literally just a living, breathing gun. And in 2 turns it gunned down this Redemptor Dreadnought, which is not a huge surprise. Let's roll off and see who goes first in this little round 2. Because I would quite, to be honest, like to see these guys in close combat. It's the Space Marine this turn. So yeah, let's go to the Redemptor Dreadnought turn 1 in this round 2. With full health, the Redemptor Dreadnought gets an 8-inch move. I want to get into close combat. This has some really powerful limbs that can do a lot of hurt, but honestly, that power fist that it's got there can also. So I'm going to move up to about here. It's definitely within my move range. Sorry for not clicking. And yeah, let's get some shooting off. So we're going to do our heavy 12 shots with the heavy onslaught Gatling cannon first, and we're going to be hitting on 3s, point blank. Come on. Quite a lot of them, which is good news. It wounds on 5s, because it's not super powerful. More of an anti-infantry weapon. And 2 of those got through. Tyrannofex has a typical 3 up. That becomes a 4 up. No, 2 off. I think they just do 1 damage each. Yep, that's right. So the Tyrannofex is down to 12 wounds. Starts on a mighty 14. Next up, we got the Fragstorm grenade launchers, which, to be honest, I've never actually fired before. I think things have just transpired that I've never got to shoot them off. So there's 2 of them. They get Assault D6. Let's see how many shots we get. Wow! 12 shots with the Fragstorm grenade launcher. I love it. So another 12 shots for the Redemptor, and it's going to be hitting on 3s. Oh, we're dice on dice. Oh, nice. Strength 4, pretty low against toughness 8, means that we're wounding on 6s actually, because it's double. 2 of them surprisingly got through. No AP, so the Tyrannofex gets its normal 3-up saves. Both passed. Heavy Flamer now has a very short range, so Heavy Flamer under the glove there, or the fist, so 6 shots. Oh, 6 again, wow. For all of the, how many shots do you get rolls this turn? Everything's come out with 6s, that's a third 6, which is really good. Hitting on 3s with the Flamer. Oh, that's not good. Wow. On a 5. Nope, that's it. He just took 2 wounds off this turn. However, now the Redemptor is at the end of its shooting phase. So what we're going to do now, I think we'll charge. D6, I think anything but 2 1s should get it. Yeah, and with that, the Redemptor is in close combat with the Tyrannofex. I need to remember it gets +1 attack now and +1 to wound rolls. Normally gets 5 then. Normally gets 4, but 1 extra. And we're going to be hitting with that big old fist on 3s. Strength is doubled with the fist to 14, so we need 3s to wound here. Ooh, 2 of them failed. Redemptor Fist has a -3 AP, just like that Rupture Cannon does. So now, the Tyrannofex needs to make 6s. Let's see how it does. No way. Honestly, can't believe it. The armor has just totally saved that Tyrannofex from that fist. And with that, the Redemptor's done its attacking. Now we're going to move on to the Tyrannofex, who's going to get the hit back. Tyrannofex gets 4 attacks and hits on 4s. 2 of them. It is Strength 7 against Toughness 7 of the Dread, so we're looking at 4s. 1 pass, 1 fail. Powerful Limbs surprisingly only have a -1 AP, which looking at them just seems a bit silly. I mean, really? So the Redemptor gets a 4-up save. And it's passed. And with that, it's the end of the turn 1 for the Redemptor. And honestly, that's a little bit disappointing. It only took 2 wounds off the Tyrannofex after all that shooting, all those grenades going in. It shot 12 grenade hits, 6 flamer hits, 12 bullets from the Gatling. Should have done more than that. Just good rolling from the Tyranid there. Now, on to turn 1 for the Tyranid, and it's just going to stay there, and I think it still gets to shoot twice when it's in combat, but with a -1 to hit. So I've just had a quick Google, and I think it looks like you can shoot twice even if you're in combat, but for me, like, fighting in close combat should constitute the same thing as moving for the weapon beast rule. I don't know, maybe there's a gap there in the rules. Maybe I've totally got it wrong. Drop a comment if you know which it is. So we're going to be hitting with 6 shots from the big old Rupture Cannon. It typically hits on a 4, so now we're going to be hitting on a 5 because it gets a -1. Only 1 of them. I think it wounds on a 3. That's wounded. Now it's got -3 AP, so we need a 6 from the Dread. And it's failed. It does D6 wounds, or damage, sorry. So let's roll the D6 and see how many wounds that shooting has taken off. 4 wounds off the Redemptor Dread. So it's down to 9 wounds. Stinger Salvo now gets to shoot twice, so we're looking at 8 shots. Hitting on 5s. 2 of them, okay. Salvo has a strength of 5, which is higher than I expected, but it's still only going to wound on 5s. None of them. Now we move on to close combat, and it's the turn of the player whose it isn't to hit first, I believe. It's going to be the Redemptor now hitting with its 4 attacks, because it already I've just realised I didn't give it +1 wound rolls. I'm not sure if that would have made a difference. Anyway, we'll give it +1 wound rolls this time. So we're looking at 4 attacks. Hitting on 3s, the Dread. Oh, nice. Wounding on 3s, we'll give it +1s. Okay, so that would be a 3. So they've all got through. And it's got a -3 AP. So the Tyrannofex here needs to make 6s. Last time it made 2 6s for its armor saves. Let's see what happens. Ooh, it's looking dangerous. So those armor saves all failed for the Tyrannofex. These do D6 wounds each with our fist, which is pretty significant. So let's see how many wounds are coming off. 4. That's 6. If this is a 6, then the T-Fex is dead. It's a 4. So it's left with like 2 wounds, I think. Yeah. So yeah, wow, that was pretty significant combat there from the Redemptor Dreadnought. Oops. So the Tyrannofex now gets to fight back. With only 2 wounds left, it only gets 2 attacks. Hits on 4s. Strength is reduced now as it's on its last legs, and so we're looking at wounding on 5s. Failed. Okay. So that is the end of combat in the turn of the Tyranids. So now we're going to move on to turn 2 for the Space Marine. Close combat, you can't use blast weapons, so it's going to be basically using its flamer and rupture cannon in order to shoot. We're going to try and kill it with fire first, I think. So looking at D6 shots. 2. Still hitting on, oh, you get -1 to hit. Oh no, it automatically hits. Yeah. So 2 shots auto hitting, they wound on 5s. Failed. So then now onto the heavy onslaught Gatling cannon. We couldn't kill it fire. Can we kill it with bullets? Hit on 4s. Cool. So lots of them got through. We're looking at wounding on 5s. 3. Okay, interesting. It has a -1 AP. So the Tyranid now to survive needs to make 4 ups. All passed. Wow. Cool. So now we're going to move on to the fight phase, and the Tyranid gets to hit back first. 2 attacks. Still hits on 4s. They both got through. It's going to be wounding on 5s because it's quite weak now. Both failed. Dreadnought, 4 attacks, hitting on 3s. Wow, they've all got through. This fist, honestly. Wounding on 3s. 2 of them. -3 AP means that 6s are required here from the Tyrannofex in order to survive. Both failed. How many wounds off we got? 2, so it's dead, and 4, and it's very dead. So on a roll of 6, it lashes out when it dies. No, it definitely doesn't. It just wilts away. And we're now at 1 apiece for this 40k face-off. So I think now we're going to do an intermediate decider, where basically instead of being like 1 here, 1 here, or 1 here and 1 here, we're going to go about halfway and see what happens as we move on to round 3 for this 40k face-off. So space them out now in a way that so 8 inches plus an average d6 of 3.5 puts it about there, and then an average roll of 7. So if it does average rolling and it's not lost wounds, the Redemptor will get into combat. The T-Fex is just going to sit there and be a weapon beast and hope to kill it before it gets close to it, I think. Yeah, so let's roll off and see who goes first. Wow. They really both want to win this, don't they? And this decider. Okay, we've got the Blood Angels Dreadnought first. So I think we've worked out where this unit is most effective against the Tyrannofex, and honestly, that is up in its grill. So we're going to advance. So the base move is 8 inches, I believe. Yep. So we're now going to go an extra d6. So we've got 8 plus 3. Okay, so we've got an 11-inch move. There, we're done, and honestly, it's looking good. I want to point out that if this Redemptor gets into combat with that Tyrannofex and absolutely smashes it, this is an asymmetric face-off. This is 1 less power level, and you know what, like 50 less points. It will be the 3rd face-off that this Redemptor is undefeated. We're gonna have to decommission it somehow. So yeah, let's see what happens with shooting. We're looking at D6 Fragstorm grenade launchers, assault weapon. So D6 each, there's 2 of them. So how many shots are we getting? 3. It's not spectacular. We're -1 because they used it like advancing. So 2 of them hit. That's pretty good, to be honest. The strength of the grenade launcher is half that of the Tyrannofex, so we need 6s to wound. Failed. We need to see if it can charge into combat. It could happen. So here we go. We're gonna do a D6, 2d6 charge. We probably need an 8, I think, to get really into combat. Let's see what we get. It's failed. And that is turn 1 for the Dreadnought. So let's put our dice down. And we're going to move on to turn 1 for the Tyrannofex. It's shooting time. Shooting gallery. Let's see what happens. It's a weapon beast. It's shooting its guns twice. Rupture cannon first. Hitting on 4s. Wounding on 3s now. Ooh, it's not looking good for the Dreadnought here. And that rupture cannon with -3 AP means that the Redemptor Dreadnought needs to make 6s here. Each one that fails is D6 wounds. Oh, they've all failed. How many wounds then in this first round of shooting are going to come off this Redemptor Dreadnought, who is honestly so close? How many wounds are we going to get off? It's not it's not good news, Dread. We got 4, 6, 10 wounds off the Dread. Starts on 13, and lucky for some, lucky for this Dread though, because it's keeping it alive, down to 3 wounds. And now the Stinger Salvo is going to shoot into it. 8 pretty weak shots going into the Dread, hitting on 4s. Wounding on 5s now. 1 of them. And I think it has a -1 AP. Yep, that's right. And so 4 up save now for the Dread, which fails. 1 damage. It's down to 2 wounds. Pretty effective, that, from the Tyrannofex. And the Tyrannofex is now going to do something which may seem daft, but honestly, I think it just wants to end it now, and it wants to not be hit first. The Tyrannofex is going to declare a charge on the Dreadnought. Basically, I feel like if I can get my max attacks in, hitting it, take those 2 wounds off it potentially, then, you know, we're looking good. It's got 2 wounds left. Powerful limbs do 2 damage each, so I only need to get 1 unsaved hit coming through. So I'm going to need 8 to get in to combat. And I've got it. There we go. Tyrannofex is in. Let's see how it hits. 4 fairly big strong attacks now, hitting on 4s. 3 of them hit. Strength 7 against toughness 7. We're looking at 4s to wound. Ooh, 2 of them. -1 AP now. These need to be 4 ups in order to survive. They both need to be 4 ups to keep this Redemptor Dreadnought alive. Let's see what happens. They are! They both saved! Honestly, that's cool as. Because now, you know what happens? The Redemptor Dreadnought on its last legs gets to hit this Tyrannofex, potentially foolish Tyrannofex, and try and take some wounds off it. The Dread also was charged this turn, so 4 attacks become 5. It's on so few wounds now that it's going to be hitting on 5s. 1 of them. Could this be significant? Could be. Strength 7 against toughness 8. Oh no, sorry. The strength is doubled, isn't it? So we're looking at 3s to wound. And it gets a +1. Yeah. So that's good. Tyrannofex now has a 3 up save. That becomes 6 with its -3 of the fist. So the Tyrannofex needs a 6 here. And it didn't get it. So this is going to do D6 wounds to the Tyrannofex, who took a calculated risk and, to be honest, is now going to pay the price for it. It starts on 14. Let's see how many wounds are going to come off it. That went off the table. Bit of suspense. Oh, 6 wounds! Wow, it's down to 8 wounds. And yeah, that was pretty foolhardy. Sneak peek there by the Tyrannofex. It lost 6 wounds after charging. All it needed to do was take 2 wounds off, but the Redemptor made some really good saves. And now, with that, I think we're going to move on to the Dreadnought's turn 2. Dreadnought shooting now, 12 shots. It's really struggling. It's hitting on 5s but -1 for being in combat. So we're looking at 6s here. Wow, a bit of battle mat. I'll take that out of my hand. 6s. More than you might think. Oh, actually, no, just 1. Wounding with the ruptured cannon. Oh, sorry, not the ruptured cannon. The Gatling cannon on a 5. That's wounded. 4-up save now for the Tyrannofex. Passed. Heavy flamer now. D6 shots. Auto hit. Just the 1. Wounds on a 5. Fails to wound. And now we are on to close combat. It's the Space Marine's turn, so it's actually the Tyrannofex that's going to hit first. Let's see what happens. 2 wounds need to come off it. What's going to happen? This is quite interesting. So with 8 wounds, it only just still gets its 4 attacks. We're going to hit on 4s. 3 of them. Still at its max strength of 7, so wounding on 4s. 2 of them. So we're back in the same situation. The Space Marine needs to make 2 4-up saves in order to survive. If it can survive and hit this Tyrannofex again with fists, honestly, I think good things could happen for it, but it might get splattered. These need to be both 4-up. Oh, one of them's failed. 2 damage on those big old limbs means that it's dead. But shall we find out if it explodes? On a 6. No, it doesn't. Wasn't a very good roll, but good enough. I just picked that dice up. So with that, guys, that's the end of this 40k face-off. And who was able to end it, finally, for everyone? People were starting to get a bit frustrated with how well that Redemptor Dreadnought was doing. Yes, we did an asymmetric face-off, but honestly, like, you know, it needed to start having to run at things. Like I've said before with these face-offs, this is not necessarily how you would or should use these units. It's just a bit of fun to see in these hypothetical situations what would happen. So yeah, Tyrannofex wins in combat. I was kind of close to really regretting charging it, to be honest, when it got those 2 saves. I thought it was just going to get pummeled, but thankfully it didn't. So yeah, that's been another 40k face-off. This is the 16th one, I think. If there's any units that you would like to see, then be sure to leave a comment saying which. I've already had a couple of requests. Some are asymmetric, to be honest, so I've kind of put them off. But if you know any same points value face-off things that you'd like to see, then let me know. I've been in touch with like my local gaming club, and there's people there with a lot of models and characters that they're willing to let me use for filming, which is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I've been Peacetime Pasting once again, and hope you have a good day or evening wherever you are.